Hey, greetings students. Welcome to your very first walkthrough in the class. This walkthrough, we're going to look at educational websites for Chapter 11. I'm going to walk you through how to get started with the Grader project. So if you notice right now, I am in our Canvas course. I recommend that you start from our Modules tab or your Home tab here in Canvas. Scroll down to where we get to Chapter 11 in week 9. Let's go ahead and click on the My Lab IT course content. You want to go this way because we can easily check our work after we're done submitting our assignment. If you go into it through the to-do list or the calendar, it's much harder to check your work when you're finished. So now that we've clicked on that My Lab IT course content, I'm going to come down here to Chapter 11, which is where we're going to be finding our assignment. And here it is our Word 11G educational website. Notice that all of the items that you need for this week are also located here. But we want to go ahead and click on our educational website. And make sure you give it a little bit of time because it does take a little bit of time to load. So now, once we are in our assignment, we need to first download our materials. Do not click on Download All Files. If you click on Download All Files, it's going to download a zip file, which makes it a little bit more difficult to submit our assignment at the end. So make sure that you click on each individual file separately. Also, I highly recommend that you use Google Chrome. If you're not using Google Chrome, I recommend that you stop the video, go download Google Chrome, and utilize Google Chrome from here on out. The reason is the simulations work a little bit better with Google Chrome. Also, when you use Google Chrome, when you download these files, they will always download to your downloads folder. So we know exactly where they are, and it's very easy to find them, do the assignments that we need to do, and then submit them for the grade. So if you're not using Google Chrome, I recommend that you do that now. But if you are using Google Chrome, notice how down here at the bottom, all of our files have now been downloaded. And the one that you are going to work on is going to be this Word, the one that has your name on it. I'm going to go ahead and open up my instructions. I recommend that if you are working on this assignment with just one monitor, to download and print up your instructions instead of having to toggle back and forth between the two screens. It makes it a little bit easier if you print the instructions. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the student file, the file with your name on it. And make sure that you hit Enable Editing. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here so it's a little bit easier for you to see as I work on this assignment. A couple things that you want to do before you get started with each Word assignment. First, on the Home tab here, you want to make sure that you have this paragraph marks turned on. This paragraph marks will show you where you hit enter, and it will show you where each paragraph begins, which is going to be very important as we are following these instructions. The other thing that I want you to do is I want you to click on the View tab right here, and I want you to put a check mark next to the ruler, as we will be using this ruler up at the top and the side. If I uncheck it, notice how it disappears, but we want to make sure that it is check marked. So a couple things I want to show before we get started. Notice that Microsoft Office has a tabbed interface, a ribbon interface is what they call it. So we have our tabs, we have Home tab, Insert tab, Design tab, Layout tab, etc. And under each one of those tabs you have a grouping. So under the Home tab, under the font grouping, you have all of the different items that you can do to your fonts. Or under your Home tab, under your paragraph grouping, you have all of the different options that you can do to your paragraphs, centering your pages, doing some bulleted lists and whatnot. So as I'm walking through these walkthroughs, I will say, go to this tab, go to the Home tab, go to a certain grouping, and click on an icon. Another really cool thing about Microsoft Office is that when you just hover over an icon, you don't have to click on it, just hover over it. Notice that it will tell you exactly what that icon is. And if it has a keyboard shortcut, it will even give you what that keyboard shortcut is. So a very nifty feature where you can hover over an icon and see if it is the icon that you want to use. For my Mac users, things will look a little bit different. You will not have this File tab on your ribbon interface. It'll actually be at the very top of your screen. You'll have all of the different options, as you do with all Mac programs. When you open up a Mac program, that top toolbar on a Mac customizes itself for whatever application that you're using. So let's go ahead and begin. We've already done step 1. So for step number 2, let's go ahead and type in educational websites. Make sure that you capitalize the E, make sure you capitalize the W, make sure it is spelled correctly because you will get points off for misspellings. Once you've typed in educational websites, hit enter. Now it wants us to type in Sturgeon Point Productions is offering website tie, make sure you put the dash ends, with every educational video in our catalog, comma, space, at no additional cost. And go ahead and hit the period and 1 space bar. Hit the space bar once. So notice that I misspelled catalog. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on catalog and I'm going to fix my spelling. You do want to make sure that all your spelling is correct. So now we want to take our cursor and we want to put it at the insertion point after that space. Notice, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Notice that there are dots in between each word. Once again, that's part of this show hide button right here that if I were to turn it off, notice how they disappear. These do not print. They are there just for a visual reference for you. The paragraph mark shows up when you hit enter, and the dot shows up when you hit the space bar, when there's a space there. So let me go ahead and zoom back out, and we can go ahead and continue with the assignment. So now, with our insertion point at the end of this paragraph right here, we want to insert text from another file. Well, that's easy. Anytime you want to insert something, most likely you're going to go to the Insert tab. And then under the Insert tab, under the text grouping, now yours may look different than mine. I have a very high resolution monitor. I have a very big monitor. So I see all of my options spread out. But if for some reason your resolution is not as sharp or it's not as big of a monitor, this may condense a little bit and you may not see all of these different tags. You may have to look at the icons and you may have to hover over an icon to see if it says what we're looking for. In this particular case, we are looking for the down arrow next to the object icon right here. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to hit text from file. Remember, if you're using Google Chrome, everything should be under the Downloads folder. And I am looking for this W11G Education. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and hit Insert. And notice when I do that, it will insert all of the text that was in that document. So we're now done with step number 2. We're going to move to step number 3, where it says change the line spacing for the entire document to 1.5. So anytime that you want to select the entire document or all the text in document, for my Windows users, hold down your Control key and hit the A button. Control A will highlight all of the text in a document. For my Mac users, I believe you hold down the Command key and hit A. I'm not 100% sure. But in the absence of a keyboard shortcut, you can highlight the entire document just by clicking and dragging all the way down. So once you have the entire thing selected and highlighted, we're going to come to our Home tab. Under our Home tab, under our paragraph grouping, there is this little icon right here. This is our paragraph settings dialog box. If we click on it, it will open up a paragraph dialog box here. And here we can change our line spacing from multiple to 1.5. We can also change our spacing after, if I hit this down arrow once, to 6 points. And then go ahead and hit OK. And notice that it will double space, or it'll put 1.5 inch space between everything, and it'll make everything look just a little bit nicer. So now it wants us to put a first line indent at the beginning of certain paragraphs. This is very easy. We're going to take our insertion point. I'm going to put it before the S in Sturgeon Point Productions right here. And I'm going to hit the Tab key on my keyboard. And notice that it will give it an indent right here. That is a first line indent. It also wants me to come down here to As Educators. And it wants me to hit the Tab key here, give it a first line indent. And scrolling down here, it says right here, when submitting. I'm going to put my cursor in front of when submitting and hit the Tab key again. And additional information, I'm going to put my cursor in front of additional and hit the Tab key and do a first line indent. And that concludes step number 3, and we're on step number 4. So on step number 4, we want to change the font size of the title. So I'm going to scroll up here to the title. We're going to start making this paper look a little bit nicer. So first I'm going to highlight educational websites. And I want to change the font size to 50. So I'm going to come to my Home tab, under my font group. Right here I have my font size. It's right now at 11. So I'm going to hit the down arrow. Notice that I do not have 50 here. So I am just going to highlight the 11 and I'm going to type in 50 and hit enter. And it's going to make it pretty large. It also wants me to center the title. So I'm going to hold down, if I'm a Windows user, I want to hold down the Control key and hit E. Control E will center on the line for me. If you're a Mac user, you might use Command E, or you can just come up here to the Home tab, under the paragraph grouping. You can click on this little icon right here, which if you hover over it, it says center. So now once I've centered this, it wants me to change my line spacing to 1.0 for just this highlighted thing here. So I'm going to come back up to my Home tab, under my paragraph grouping, and I'm going to click on this little guy again right here, this paragraph settings dialog box. And I want to change my line spacing to 1, or to single. And hit OK. And it's going to bring that a little bit closer. Now it wants me to, with the title still selected, I want to change the text effects. So I'm going to come to my Home tab, under my font group. Notice that there's this glowing A, this blue A right here. If I hover over it, it says Text Effects and Typography. Go ahead and hit the down arrow. Then it wants me to go to the first row, second effect, which is this blue color right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And notice what's really cool is it gives me a live preview of what it is that it'll look like when I select it. So it's very neat to see what it is that you are going to select and how it's going to affect your document. So in this case, I want the first row, second option right here. And that's starting to look a little bit nicer. Now it says at the beginning of the paragraph below the title, so I'm going to go ahead and click right here where it says Sturgeon Point Productions. It wants me to insert a picture. Once again, anytime that you want to insert something, we're going to come up here to the Insert tab. From the Insert tab, under the Illustrations grouping, I'm going to click on Picture. From this device. And once again, it should be under the Downloads folder. Right here it is, under the Downloads folder, W11G Media. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. and hit insert. And notice it puts this rather large picture into my document. However, when we put this picture in, and notice how it is selected, notice that there are dots going around it saying that it is selected. When you have an object that has additional functionality or different additional options that you can do to it, you get what's called a contextual tab. Notice right here, if I click off, notice how that picture options go away. And then when I click back on the picture, it comes back. This is called a contextual tab and will only show up when an item has additional functionality. So in this particular case, we want to change our picture height to 2. So notice under our picture format, under our size grouping over here, we can change the height to 2. I'm just going to go ahead and type in 2, hit enter, and it makes the picture a little bit more manageable. We also want to change the layout options to square. So notice now, right now, the text does not go around the picture. We can change that by clicking on this little icon right here, our layout options dialog box, and click with text wrapping. We're going to change it to the first option, which is called square. Now the text will wrap around it. Still doesn't look good though. We need to kind of fix this. We want to change the format of the picture with soft edges, 10 points. To do that, we're going to come back up here to our picture format. Under our picture effects right here, we're going to click on picture effects. We're going to do soft edges, and we're going to find the one that says 10 point, which is this one right here. And notice how it has a little bit of a fuzzy border going around it. Moving on to step number 6, it wants us to use the position command to display the layout dialog box. So go ahead and make sure you click back on this, make sure this opens back up. And we're going to come down here to see more. And when you click on see more, it's going to open up our layout dialog box where we can really change the settings of this picture. In this case, we want to change the position. So we're going to do under horizontal alignment, click on alignment here. And we want to make it right. So change this to right, relative to the margin. And we want to change the vertical alignment to top relative to the line. So we're going to change it relative to the line. So alignment right margin, alignment top line, hit OK, and it will flip-flop like a politician right over to the other side of the paper. Now moving on to step number 7. It wants us to select the 5 paragraphs beginning with historic interactive timelines. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here. Here's historic interactive timelines. It wants me to highlight this all the way down to quizzes and essay exams. And this is the first step where it says Macs have a different set of instructions. So if you are a Mac user, look at step number 7 at the end of step number 7. There is an additional instructions for Mac users. But for my Windows users, we want to put check mark bullets. So we highlight these 5 paragraphs right here. We're going to come to the Home tab. Under the paragraph grouping, we want to hit the down arrow next to bullets right here. And we want to do the check mark bullets. Once again, Mac users, follow the steps on step number 7. So now it says in the paragraph below the bulleted list, notice that there is a colon. So right here where it says please list, there's a colon right here. Let's put our cursor after that colon. And let's go ahead and hit enter. Notice that when you hit enter, it puts a first line indent. We want to get rid of that. So just hit the backspace key on your keyboard, which will take us back to the beginning of that line. And we want to type in a numbered list. So let's go ahead and come to our Home tab here. Under our paragraph grouping, let's go ahead and click on our numbering list right here. I'm just going to click on numbering. Notice that it will put a number 1 in there for us. Now let's go ahead and type in the information in step number 8. The title in which you are interested. Hit enter. The name of the class and subject. Hit enter. And online tools you would like to see created. So once you have those three items typed in, notice that you have 1, 2, 3, and we have a numbered list. So now for step number 9, with our insertion point still at the end of the numbered list. If not, you can go ahead and put your cursor here at the end of created. It wants us to insert a smart graphic. Well, anytime you want to insert something, we're going to go to the Insert tab. Under the Insert tab, we want to go to our Illustrations group and we want to click on Smart Art. This Smart Art is going to be under the Process category, so click on Process. And we want to find the basic chevron shape, this one right here. Go ahead and click on that, Basic Chevron Process, and hit OK. And it will put it into our document for us. Let's go ahead and click on the first shape here, and let's type in the word view. Go ahead and click on the second one and type in interact. And let's go ahead and click on the third one and type in assess. So there we have it. We've typed in all three of our words. And now we want to change the settings for this Smart Art. However, notice that right now we have the whole thing selected, but we also have dots around this particular chevron. So if we were to make changes right now to this Smart Art, it would only change this one chevron, when in fact we want to make changes to the entire thing. So we need to come up here to our outer border, somewhere on our outer border, one of these dots, and just click once. And notice when you click on the outer border, it will deselect that one chevron. So now whatever we do, any formatting we do to this, will be done to the whole thing. So let's go ahead and change our colors. So we're going to come up here to our Smart Art Design Contextual tab. Let's click on Change Colors. Under Colorful, we want to do range 4 to 5. Go ahead and click on that. We also want to change our Smart Art style. So find our Smart Art Styles grouping here. Let's click the down arrow with the line above it, right here, the More button. Under 3D, we want to find the one that says 3D Flat Scene, this one right here. It also wants us to change the height of the Smart Art to 1. So I'm going to come up here to my Smart Art Design. I'm going to click on the Format tab that's right next to it. I want to change my height to 1 and hit Enter. Notice that it kind of disappears for me. I'm going to scroll up here. It's back on page 2. It also wants me to change the width to 6.5. So I'm going to come up here under Size. I'm going to change the width to 6.5 and hit Enter. And notice how it makes it a little bit longer for us. It also wants us to change the position. So I'm going to click on our layout options right here. And I'm going to click on See More. First thing I want to do is I want to click on Text Wrapping. And I want to select Square. Then I want to click on Position, my Position tab here. I want to change the horizontal alignment to center relative to the page. And under vertical, I want to do vertical alignment, and I want to do bottom relative to the margin. And go ahead and hit OK, and notice that it will move it to the correct position that I want it. Now for step number 11, it wants me to select the days and times. So I'm going to go down to the very bottom of the document. Here are my days and times. And this is where it's very important to have this toolbar. So let's go ahead and highlight Monday all the way down to noon. And we are going to put in a right tab stop. So I want you to come up here to the very top corner of our document and notice that you have this little guy on our ruler on the vertical ruler. And when you hover over it, don't click on it. When you hover over it, it says a left tab stop. Well, we need to put in a right tab stop. So go ahead and click on it once, unhover it, and then hover back on it again, and notice that it says center tab. Go ahead and click on it again. Take your cursor off of it, hover back over it again, and notice now that it says it is a right tab. So now that it says a right tab, it wants me to put a right tab stop on the 6 inches on the ruler. So I'm going to come over here to my ruler. I'm going to hover just below the 6 right here. Just hover so my cursor is just touching the 6, and I'm going to click once. And when I click, it's going to put my right tab stop in there, and it's going to now format my document to look like this. And what this does is it means that when you hit tab, it's going to bring it over here to the right of the document. But it wants me to have a dot leader, so I need to modify that particular tab stop. To do that, I'm going to come up here to that little icon that I put on here, that tab stop. I'm going to hover over it. Notice how it says right tab. And I'm going to double click very fast. And when I double click really fast, it should bring up my tabs dialog box. I do not want to create a new one, so I want to click on the one that's already there. I want to make sure this 6 is highlighted. Make sure it says right. And select option number 2, which is the dot leader, and hit the set button. Once you hit set, hit OK. And now notice that we have our dot leaders. So for step number 12, it says in the middle of page 2, insert a shape with a rectangle with rounded corners. I'm going to go to my Insert tab here. Under my Insert tab, under Illustrations, here's my shapes. And the second option under Rectangles should be Rectangle Rounded Corners. I'm going to click on that once. And notice that I now have these crosshairs. I want to go ahead and just somewhere here in the middle of the document, I just want to go ahead and click once. And notice that it puts a rounded rectangle shape right here. We do need to make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to come up here to our Format Shape dialog box. And we are going to change the height to 1.5. And we are going to change our width to 6.5. Go ahead and hit enter. For step number 12, we also want to apply a shape style. So let's go ahead and click on our shape styles here. Hit the down arrow with the line above it, which is more. And under the first row, we want the second option. So now that we have this here, we want to use the position command. So we're going to come over here to our page or our layout options, click on our layout options and hit see more. And we're going to make the alignment the exact same. So our horizontal alignment is going to be centered relative to the margin. And our vertical position is going to be centered relative to the margin. So these are going to be the same. Alignment centered margin, and hit OK. And now notice our box is where we want it to be. And we want to type in the text that is in cell 13 or in step number 13. So I'm going to click inside here. I'm just going to start typing. Sturgeon Point Productions. I'm going to hit enter and type in partnering with educators to produce rich media content. Make sure you double check this is correct. Make sure you capitalize the right words. Go ahead and highlight those sentences. We want to change the font size to 16. Notice that when I highlight this, I get this little floating toolbar, this quick toolbar right here. So very quickly, I can change my font to 16. And there it is. There's my font size changed to 16, and it's looking pretty nice. Alright, so now we are done with step number 13. For step number 14, it wants us to move to the top of the document. I'm going to go ahead and scroll to the top of the document. And it wants us to insert a text box right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just click somewhere up here. I'm just going to click here. I'm going to go to my Insert tab. From my Insert tab, I'm going to go to the text grouping. Here's my text box. I'm going to click on text box and then go all the way down to the bottom where it says draw text box. I'm going to get that same crosshairs that I had when I inserted my rectangle shape. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and somewhere up here in this blank space, click once. And it's going to put my text box in there. So it wants me to change the height to 0.5. And there it is. It's now at a 0.5. And it also wants me to change the width to 3.7. So I'm going to click on width and change it to 3.7 and hit enter. Notice that my cursor's inside there. I'm going to go ahead and type in Sturgeon Point Productions. So it wants me to highlight the text. I'm going to come to the Home tab and I'm going to change the font size to 22. It also wants me to center the text, so on the Home tab here, under my paragraph grouping, I'm going to click on Center. Now it wants me to use the Position command to put the text box where we want it. So I'm going to click on the little icon next to my text box here. I want to hit See More. I'm going to change my alignment. My horizontal alignment is going to be centered relative to the page. And I'm going to change my vertical alignment to an absolute position. So make sure absolute position is selected. And I'm going to change this to 0.5 below the page. And hit OK. And notice that it will put it right where I want it to be. It also wants me to change the shape fill. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my Shape Format tab here. And right here where it says Shape Fill, I'm going to click the down arrow. And it wants me to change it to the last column, second color. I'm sorry, the next to the last column, second color. So this blue, but I want to go the second one down, which is lighter 80% right here. And it also wants me to do the shape outline the same color. So I'm going to click where it says Shape Outline right here. And I'm going to select the same color, that blue, the second one down, lighter 80%. And I want to deselect my text, and there it is. Look how nice that looks. And actually look how nice our document's looking. It's looking very professional. So after you've clicked down in here, we need to insert a page border. So on our Home tab here, under our paragraph grouping, we have a icon that looks like this. Hit the down arrow. This is our borders. And we're going to go all the way down to borders and shading. Now this is very important. We need to make sure we are doing a page border. So make sure you click on page border. And we do want to do a box border. So let's put a checkbox, or let's click box border here. It wants us to do the first style. And under colors, where it says automatic, it wants us to change this to second to the last column, the first color. So this blue accent 5 right here. And once we click on that, make sure it says apply to whole document. Go ahead and hit OK. For my Mac users, make sure you are paying attention on step number 17. To put that border in there, you do have different instructions. So our last two things that we need to do, we need to change our top margin to 1.25 and insert a file name in the footer. We are going to click on our Layout tab. Under our Layout tab, under Page Setup, let's click on the Page Setup dialog box right here. Here we'll have access to our Margins tab, which we want to change the top margin to 1.25. 1.25. And go ahead and hit enter. Notice that it will change the top margin a little bit. And to put the file name in the footer, let's go to the Insert tab. Under the Insert tab, under our header grouping right here, we want to click on Footer, Edit Footer. It'll bring us down to our footer. We'll be in our header footer contextual tab, and we want to click on the insert grouping here where it says document info and hit file name. And the reason why we put our file name in this way is because if some reason we change the name of our file, it will automatically change this field to update it. So let's go ahead and close our header and footer. Let's make sure we save our document. Let's go ahead and hit this save button right here, or you can hit the file tab and hit save as well, but make sure that you save it. If you use Google Chrome and you downloaded everything properly, we should have everything in our downloads folder. So let's go ahead and submit this for grading. Let's hit our down arrow here. Let's go ahead and minimize it. I always minimize it that way in case some way I lose it. I still have it up where I can find it. Where it says download starting materials, I want to exit out of that. I'm going to come over here where it says upload completed assignment. I'm going to hit choose file. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, because once again it should be in our downloads folder. And here it is for me. It says student. For you it should have your last name. I'm going to click on that and hit open. I'm going to click the upload button. And I am going to hit submit for grading. And it says kudos, I'm done. So I'm going to hit close assignment or exit out of the tab up here. And remember, if you access the assignment the proper way, it's going to bring us right back here, where I can now click on these three dots next to Word 11G educational websites, and I can hit view submissions. And when I click on view submissions, it will show me what my submissions were. And I can click on my submission, and it will open up a detailed report that shows me exactly what I got right or wrong. If I got something wrong here, it would be highlighted in red. I could click on it. It would tell me exactly what I did wrong. That way I could go back, fix it, resubmit it, and get a better grade. Well, that concludes this walkthrough. I will be working on our future walkthroughs here shortly. If you have any comments or questions, please reach out. And like always, have a wonderful day.